Good morning, everyone. I'm feeling a bit powerful here now because I'm between you and coffee, but I won't be too long. So just to give an introduction to what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm going to give a little bit on water quality and just explain what I mean about that. I'm going to talk about the current full picture of water quality in Ireland, and then I'll talk a bit about the indicators report, a little bit on the significant pressures, and then finish up with what we need to do. So I have water quality explained there, and I suppose when I put the word explained, I was kind of wondering was it what it sounded like, but water quality means the different things to different people, and I suppose just to set the scene for what I'm talking about here is I'm talking about from the Water Framework Directive point of view and from an ecological status point of view. So it's this kind of overarching view of water quality. So if we look at our surface waters, such as our rivers, lakes, and estuaries and coastal waters, we have ecological status. And part of ecological status is made up of the biology and the physical-chemical elements. So there are your nutrients, etc. We have chemical status as well, and into that comes in groundwater, so things like nitrates in the groundwater, and quantitative status there as well. If we go to the surface waters, then what we do is we categorize them according to 5 status classes. So you all know these, the high, good, moderate, poor, and bad. Today I'm going to be dealing with the indicators, and you can see some of them there outlined in red. And they're the parameters that are the key drivers of ecological status. So every year we bring out the report on an annual basis in between our water quality reports, and we look at those parameters in red to kind of see where we're going. So still staying with water quality, so I spoke about the status classes there, high, good, moderate, poor, and bad. When we look at them, we see how they impact on the ecology, and that's the main thing we're looking at. So we have our little cartoon fish there, and it's just a way of kind of illustrating the ecological impacts, really. I have a box drawn around high and good, because that's where we need to be. We need to be in high and good ecological status nationally. So these are, as illustrated by our happy fish, they're clean, resilient, diverse ecosystems that we see that are functioning normally. And we really need to protect those ecosystems. Moving down then to moderate, poor, and bad, you can see that the ecology, there's an altered ecosystem, there's an impaired function, and there's reduced diversity and resilience seen in these water bodies. And what we need to do is we need to restore them. So if you look on the left there, there's a no deterioration. We really need to protect what we have in terms of our high and good and try not to let things slip. So I think in 2022, the EPA published the current full picture. So I've spoken about ecological status overall. So the overall picture, we published it in 2022, and it was in the Water Quality Report, and it dealt with the period 2019 to 2021. And what we saw there was 54% of our surface waters, so that's as I mentioned before, the rivers, the lakes, and the estuaries and coastal waters are in high or good status. So 54%, just over half, are hitting the mark. When we looked at the data, the coastal waters were currently performing the best at 81% of them being in satisfactory condition, and our estuaries had the lowest water quality overall at only 36% being in satisfactory condition. But what we noticed was overall that we were seeing improvements, but we were also seeing an equal amount of declines, and you can see the pie chart there. There was no change in 68%, but the declines and the improvements were just cancelling each other out. So just a little reminder there that today I'm presenting the indicators. I'm not looking at the current full status of ecological status. That's going to be due next year. So the indicators. I won't go through all of them today because I won't have time, so I've just picked out some of the key ones. One of the first ones up is river biological quality. So that's, many of you in the room here will know this is the Q value. And this is where we look at the macroinvertebrates in the river, so the insects really. And they're a key indicator of the water quality. And we use them because they give a long-term indication of what the water quality is like. When we're looking at the data, you can see the top 3 bars there of the graph over the last 3 periods. We're not seeing the shift in it. We're not really seeing any improvement at all. And it's the same story again, where we are seeing improvements coming around. they're being cancelled out by declines that we're seeing elsewhere. So there's that sort of balancing out. And it was described, I suppose, in previous reports as that kind of thought of running to standstill. So we kind of need to see the line shifting. Moving into river nitrate then, the graph on the map on the left there, you can see, I don't know how clear it is, but anything there that's yellow, orange, or kind of red color, they're sites, river sites that are above 8 milligrams nitrate, so what we would consider needed for good water quality. That's a 3-yearly average map there from 2021 to 23. Again, 42% of river sites have unsatisfactory nitrate there, so we're not seeing an improvement. It's pretty similar to the last report. If we look at the national picture there, that line graph that you can see, if you look at it nationally overall, the blue line is what's needed for high water quality. The green, which is where we're hovering around nationally, is for good. And anything above the yellow there impacts on marine water quality. So that national picture there looks fine. But if you look into the regional impacts, as you can see on the map, and we did a regional analysis of it. So we followed the operational regions that are used by LawPro, and the map there is from the LawPro website. And this is the same picture as we had in the last report as well. You can see in the southeast there that the nitrate levels are just too high, and they're impacting on our marine quality, water quality. Similarly, in the Midlands and East region as well, it's creeping up and it's just below that level there. So we have issues in these regions in terms of river nitrate being too high. If we move on and stay with nitrate then and look at groundwater, and there's a slightly different scale here, but the line there, the yellow kind of orangey line, is your marine water quality, kind of what we need to be below to protect our marine water quality. If we see there that, again, the southeast again and the Midlands and East both have nitrate levels that are just too high. And in fact, we've seen a little uptick between 22 and 23 in both of these regions as well. And then to follow on, just to complete the picture on nitrates, in our estuaries and coastal waters then, there's a map there. I'm not sure how clear it is on the big screen, maybe it's better. But if you can see again, your oranges, yellows and reds there, that 17% of our water bodies have unsatisfactory nitrate concentrations in our marine and coastal waters. And again, they're all down in the south and the southeast and some on the east coast. And that's matching up what we're seeing with our rivers and our groundwaters as well. And again, unfortunately, it's a picture of no improvement. We're not seeing the dial shifting where we need it to. Things just aren't getting better. Again, it's another picture of no improvement for phosphate, I'm afraid. If you can see the map on the left there, it's a more nuanced picture, I suppose, than it is with nitrate, but we have localized issues there. And that's a 3-yearly average phosphate picture. You can see the reds and the oranges and the yellows coming through. 27% of our river sites have unsatisfactory phosphate concentrations. So that's above the 0.035 milligrams legal binding target that we have. And again, it's a picture of no improvement. It's pretty much the same as the last report. Nationally, you can see it hovering between the high and the good there, but it's a similar picture, I suppose, to nitrates, perhaps less pronounced if we do it with the regions, and I won't go into the regions in this, but you can see on the map there that there are regional problems there that need to be tackled. If we continue on with phosphate then and look at total phosphorus in lakes, our data are showing from 21 to 23. Again, these are the 3-yearly averages, and the map on the left there you can see 35% of lakes have unsatisfactory phosphate concentrations above the legally binding target of 0.025 milligrams. Now, a lot of you will be familiar with the border lakes, the Cavan Monaghan region, and a lot of them are up around that area. I suppose there's a legacy issue with a lot of those lakes. They have phosphates stored in their sediments. And I suppose what we need to look at is turning off the source of phosphorus into those lakes as well, because we could be looking at decades for some of those lakes to recover. So there's a long lag time there. But again, I suppose, as with all of our indicators, there's no change really, and I suppose there's no improvement is the main thing. If we move on then to the significant pressures, and I'm just going to touch briefly on these. But 34% of our water bodies are at risk of not meeting their objectives. Now, this is taken from a recent EPA report where we looked at pressures impacting on water quality, and it's available on the website. But if you look at the bar chart there across, we have agriculture being the main significant pressure, hydromorphological pressures, which Fintan touched on there. So that's the shape, the form, and the flow, really. That's damage to our habitats and our river and water levels, and the barriers as well that we mentioned as well. And then forestry and urban wastewater. It's the same top four, and you can see there's not much change in them across the period. There's a bit of a jump there in the hydromorphological pressures from 2015 on, but that was, I suppose, due to our increased understanding, increased monitoring of it, and kind of getting to grips with the problem more. As I said, I'm not going to go into it here in detail. That's on the EPA website. It goes into more detail on that. So I'm actually going to finish up a bit quicker than I was expecting. You'll all be glad to know. But what needs to be done? And I suppose it sounds simple, but it's a basic statement that nutrient levels need to decrease in our waters. That's basically it. We just need to get the nutrients down. We need targeted action, and I know Fintan had alluded to it there, that right measures need to be in the right place, and that's become a real mantra, and it's true. That's what we need. We need a finalised river basin management plan, and Fintan alluded to this as well, but we need to be able to improve the tracking and reporting of measures. We need to learn about what is and isn't working, and whatever is working, we need to be able to implement that at scale. And I was heartened to hear that it's due, the report is, the Water Action Plan, as it's been called, is due in the next few weeks, so that's great to hear. We need full implementation of the Nitrates Action Programme as well, and improved tracking and reporting of measures, as I said, but also compliance in the National Agricultural Inspection Programme. I know my colleague Ray Cullinan's here today, and he'll be talking about that later on as well, so we'll be covering that in more detail. But that's a vital step. And also, Fintan alluded to the investment that's going on in Uisce Éireann at the moment, that there's a lot of money going into investing in areas where wastewater is impacting on water quality. But I suppose we're finding that needs to be continued, and it needs to continue at pace so that we can see the improvements that are needed. Just to thank you for listening. I want to say thanks to my colleagues as well for all the data and everything, and some of the external state agencies that supply data to us. The Ecology team are out at the moment sampling the rivers around the country, trying to see what they're like in terms of the Q value. And just say that the report is available on the EPA website, and you can get water quality data available on the Catchments website as well. Thank you.